What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Turtle Man. This is Turtle Man. I don't know. Could have been the last video. I said the starter and the coil pack and everything took a dump on me on the mower. Well, here's the original starter off the mower. You notice on the bottom of this, that little groove that's cut into the gear? Well, there's supposed to be a rubber bushing that's about a ½ inch thick, and it's about as wide as this little plate on the bottom, a little wider than that plate. So the starter gear doesn't actually have anything in it. You see this little plate is what rides up and engages the starter gear. Well, without that rubber on there, there's nothing that adds friction, so it won't crank the mower. So that little rubber washer's missing. This little drive washer won't engage this. So the starter's basically junk without it. Now, these rebuild pieces, you can get this whole setup. The gear with the rubber made on it, the bottom washer, this cap, a spring, and a clip for like $35. You can get a whole starter for about $50. Well, I had a spare engine, a spare Kohler, and it's got a Denso style starter on it. It's got a heavier duty nose cone on it. It's a 9-tooth drive gear instead of a 10. And I did my research on that. The 9-tooth was actually a high torque starter. It meshes perfect. Here. Meshes perfect. So I did me a little conversion. I had this Denso starter. I bench tested it, and I shot a little lubricant in there on the gear. And what it did was, there's two wires that go to your solenoid. One of them's a ground, this black one, and the other one is the white wire. That's key on power to this solenoid for cranking. And you've got two battery cables, one from the battery to that empty post, and then from this other post here down to the starter. So all you do is take both your cables and put them on top of each other on one post, but connect me a little piece of wire and run right down here to the S terminal on the starter. Now I've got me a Denso conversion. Cost me nothing. Had the starter, had my connectors. Of course, I have a can of WD-40. What redneck don't? Little electrical tape, a piece of loom, and I got a starter for nothing. So, minty. So, that's junk. Still looking for a coil. I did the normal thing. You know, most of the time these things have this little cut-off solenoid on the bottom of the carburetor. So all that is like an anti-backfire solenoid. So when you shut the key off at high idle, that little solenoid has a plunger, and it stuffs the plunger up in the main jet. Cuts fuel off completely. Well, like a normal person, I don't shut things off while they're revved up. I mean, who redlines their vehicle and then turns the key off? Well, we won't go there. But if you bring the thing down to idle, let it cool off for a second, and then turn the key off, they don't backfire. So, the hot wire for that solenoid runs off of this wire here on the coil. So to make sure this coil had all of its voltage, I snipped that wire and pulled the plunger out of the solenoid, and let's see, I got junk everywhere. I know I saved the solenoid, or the little plunger. There it is. There's that little plunger. That's what's in the carburetor. Or in that solenoid. And you can see the little pintle on the end of it that stuffs up in the main jet and shuts the fuel off. So all you got to do is, it just sits in there. So you just pull that out, snip the wire, you're good to go. No reason to spend $80 on that. A lot of people spend $80 on that solenoid because the solenoid itself will go bad and it'll never pull that little plunger down far enough for the carburetor to get fuel. Anyway, so I'll limit it, and I'm sure that little solenoid, I'm sure it doesn't pull a lot of amperage, but I'm sure it pulls some kind of amperage, which could be, drawing extra power away from this coil. So, either way, she starts and runs now since I got a new starter. But this cylinder's still dead because that coil ain't no good. You can stick your hand on the exhaust, she's just ice cold. This thing ain't hitting a lick. And it sure ain't sparking. So, I still got to get a coil for it, but I got me a good starter. On that note, little compression ignition engine update. Talked to the machine shop yesterday that's got my block. They had a problem with the boring machine. Most machine shops, there ain't a lot of space, so they usually have like an overhead crane in the shop to pick up blocks and move them around. If not, you get a buddy to help you, and you stick it on a two-wheeler and you tote it around the shop. Well, the place that's got my stuff, it's kind of tight in there, and they've got an overhead crane. It's not actually a crane. It's like a chain fall on a set of wheels. So they do a lot of cylinder head work, and the blocks they do work on, they do a lot of German stuff. So they've got like Mini Cooper engines, BMW engines, Porsche engines, Volvo engines. They got a bunch of that. They're capable of doing other stuff, but that's their main business, is German stuff. So I don't think they got a block in there that's even half as heavy as this thing. So when he went to pick my block up, apparently one of the bearings on the wheel was bad, and he almost dropped my block. He goes, so I set it back down and had to order parts to fix this little trolley that the little overhead crane's on. So he got the parts in, it's fixed. He's supposed to get the block on the boring machine today. Good news. On another note, Christian Automotive Machine Shop down in Corinth called me Monday-ish. I don't even know what today is. Anyway, called me Monday, told me that my rotating assembly's done. So I'm hanging out for a minute. I got a buddy coming to pick up some Duramax exhaust pieces that I got laying around. Don't ask me why I have no maxi pad stuff, but exhaust is exhaust. 4-inch mandrel bent low-grade stainless is good stuff to have. But he needs some stuff for a truck he just bought, so he's coming to get it. As soon as he gets here, I'm running to Corinth to get my rotating assembly. And then I'm going to stop back by the little small engine shop here in town and see if they got some used engines laying around. Maybe I can steal a used coil or something, because these coils are $125 a piece. Good God. I mean, almost $300 for 2 coils. I only give $200 for the whole dadgum mower. So I really don't want to spend that kind of money. If I can get a used coil and it runs, good deal. Belts and pulleys are a different story. That's kind of part of the machine. If I gotta, buy a belt, those are wear items. A lot of times it's not normal for coils to go bad on small engines. You do get those ones that do, but it's such a weird coil. Like I said, you can see the gap between it, and it does have a pickup on it right there. But I mean, look at the gap on it. That ain't a few thousandths. That's like a beer box doubled over 4 times. So I don't know if that pickup is actually doing anything for the coil, or the 2 wires that come out from under here that actually send power up here is what, runs the coil. It may have a pickup coil underneath it. I don't know. I ain't pulling the flywheel off. But I know this has power, ground, and signal. The little white wire is a signal wire. So that coil's got to be dead. I guess I could swap them side to side and just make sure, but, no spark is no spark. I pull the spark plug out and ground it to the head with the wire on it, and ain't nothing coming out. I know it's dead. Because it worked the other day. I've had this thing running for quite a while, and I've driven it around the yard and whatnot, and it's run. The other day it just quit. When I fired it up a minute ago, it's stone cold. I ain't fired it up in a week, and it's dead. So that coil's got to be junk. But anyway, boys, Turtle Man weather report. It's muggy as all get out. It's in the low 70s. Partly cloudy. Not too bad. And what is that right there? Miss Kitty. Burr. My little cat's awesome. She's a little shop kitty. Got my truck aligned yesterday too. Rides a hell of a lot better. Drives better. Got to rotate the tires and balance them, but it was way out. Anyway, my buddy's pulling up to get some exhaust, and we'll holler at y'all later. Deuces.